think my feeling about Scientology, especially now, with the amount of press that the church has gotten, like if you're in there and you want to leave,
Yeah.
you just leave.
Let's get out.
There's a book deal in it at this point.
That's true.
You know, like
Tell all.
a tell-all. Speaking of religion, here's something I've been thinking about. Actually, I might have to do a little live research in a second here.
Mm-hmm.
Name like a big chain store, like something that has like it's global. It's like,
global,
like McDonald's.
Walmart's pretty global.
Walmart, okay. It doesn't really matter, but
yeah,
something where it's like, all right, it's everywhere. There's thousands of employees.
Yeah,
tens of thousands,
or maybe even hundreds of thousands.
Maybe even hundreds of thousands. What percent of employees would have to be accused and fairly certainly child molesters, and there's been a corporate attempt to cover it up and move them around before you never, ever, ever go back to that company, like as a customer?
Huh. Right.
Second part of this.
See where you're going with this.
What percentage of Catholic priests molested kids?
Is that something that you know?
I don't, and I'm going to look that up.
But that's something that we can't really know. It's only what has been from the people who have come forward.
Let's say like 5.
Why is that even a thing?
Let's say 5%, and it's plus or minus 3.
Yeah.
So there might be as low as 2%, as high as 8%. All right, so let's say they take the low. Let's say 2% of Catholic priests molested kids.
That's a lot.
Let's say 2% of cashiers at Walmart molested kids.
Yeah.
And the company just kept moving them around from store to store to hide the fact that they were molesting kids. 2%?
Like in the Walmart.
Would you ever, in your wildest dreams, like, or it doesn't really matter what company it is, you know, like, would you ever in your wildest dreams spend money there again?
No.
Was
that deliberate? Of course not.
There's a billion Catholics.
Yeah, but that's tough because they're not going to church and worshiping the priest. They're worshiping God, and that's what's most important to them. These people are human beings, and yeah, that's awful.
Right.
But I need my relationship with God, and that's where I get it.
I need milk.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to a different store.
I mean, maybe this cow was molested, but still need the milk.
It's only because it's God.
Yeah.
It's only because it's religion.
Yeah. True. Yeah, it would be much easier to, I mean, if that were a thing, a very consistently documented thing, and especially if it went on for years,
decades,
whatever,
probably
company,
centuries,
whatever company would absolutely crumble. If that was like part of the culture of the company.
If there wasn't the belief that this is your gateway to heaven.
Right.
There's no fucking way.
Worth saving a few bucks.
So I think about that now. It's like there's a billion people that are Catholic.
Man, billion.
Maybe, I think so. I think it's over 1 billion at this point.
Look at it.
I'm gonna get you some numbers here.
Okay.
But I was thinking about that, like, you know, because I grew up being dragged.
What is that, like 1/7 of the population? I mean, that seems...
Yeah, I mean, Muslims, 1.6
billion?
Mm-hmm. So it's up there.
Oh, dude.
Let's see. How many Catholics? All right, let's start there. How many Catholics in the world? 1.2 billion.
Wow.
More than 40% of the world's Catholics live in Latin America, but Africa has seen the biggest growth in Catholic congregations in recent years. Yeah, I think this is a trait, too, that it's not growing in the United States. It's not growing in Europe. It's growing in, like, developing parts of the world. Do a little Muslim search here. 1.8 billion.
Really?
Yeah.
Bigger than Catholic.
A quarter of the global population.
What?
But Islam is the second largest religion after Christianity
as a whole.
As a whole. So Catholic that's the meat and potatoes.
Yeah. Because there's not as many divisions
So, but between Islam and just Catholicism, it's 3 billion, almost half the world's population.
Wow. Did
So,
not know that.
So there's 1.2 billion customers
Mm-hmm.
at a company that has admittedly tried to protect child molesters.
And does the church admit, like, yeah, that happened?
Yeah.
So we tried to.
Let's see how many.
That's the real fucked up thing.
Let's look at percentage of Catholic priests. 7% of Australia's Catholic priests accused of sexually abusing children.
Whoa.
All right, so let's just take that.
Yeah.
You're Australian. You're Catholic. 7% of the priests in your country have been accused of sexually abusing kids.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so even say that that's off by 6 percentage points, still 1%.
Still a lot. A lot.
Here's another thing too. It's not off by 6%.
No.
It's probably pretty accurate.
I mean, because what does one gain by putting that on a priest? I mean, that's not something that you want to get involved with. It's not like you don't benefit from that.
Yeah, no.
You just want to expose them.
Yeah. This predator that is allowed to keep molesting children, he benefits by you not saying anything.
Right.
No one else would benefit from like speaking up.
Right. It's not like a Bill Cosby situation when there's some money to get from it.
Yeah. I listened to that legal podcast, and Mark Garrigus, the celebrity lawyer guy, he kind of called it. He's like, all these signs kind of leading to it. It's like, as a defense attorney, it's like, I like it.
Yeah.
As a defense attorney, I like listening to that podcast. He's like, I'm not passing any judgment, like moral judgment, but just as a practitioner of the law, it's like, I can give you, this is how I think this is going to go. Like, it's kind of a weird, like, that's like the emotionless kind of cold, calculating, cold hard facts kind of take on things. Because they say it's like you're practicing law. It's like, yeah, it's not like, not necessarily like a moral judgment ever.
Right.
It's more like this is the system. These are the levers and the buttons and stuff, and you know or you don't know how to operate it. You know. But yeah, anyway, that's something I've been thinking about. That like BP spilled oil in the Gulf of Mexico. That was a fucking shitstorm.
Yeah, big deal.
They'll almost never get away from that image. Like you think Exxon, you kind of, in your mind, you kind of Exxon Valdez. They're kind of like, it's still there. And that was 30 years ago, 35 years ago. I mean, it was in the 80s, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I think so.
That's still right there. Like, I can't look at an Exxon, and I was a baby if that, when that happened. So that only entered my mind like in elementary school, like in the 90s, after the fact. But for some reason, this organized system of protecting child molesters and not children, because it's associated with God, it's still a business. People still donate money every week. People put money in the collection basket.
Yeah.
And don't think I'm contributing to protecting a child molester. This money is paying for a priest's housing.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the world.
Ew.
So 7 cents of this dollar went to protecting a child molester. Isn't that weird? Like, that's so weird.
It sure is.
Imagine if Walmart had that scandal. There would be buildings burnt to the ground like today,
There'd be a lot of empty buildings for sure.
For sure. 7%.
There would be a lot of lawsuits too.
Oh my God.
Ooh, boy.
7% of the people at the front counter McDonald's molest kids. There would be fryer grease just dumped on people's heads.
Ronald McDonald would be forever
crying
punished.
Clown tears. I don't really know what made me think of that, but I've been thinking about that the last couple of weeks. Like, what would it take? What would it actually take? I guess that's not enough.
Is it?
You know?
Is it being reduced to any degree? if I'm a priest today, and I know that this is a blemish on the entire organization and culture, and lots of priests have been outed, I would, even if that was something that I wanted to do, it seems like a pretty fucking stupid idea to actually do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I mean, that to me is almost, it's almost a separate issue compared to like the worshipers.
Yeah.
That go to church. So, priest in conflict who is having these like pedophile thoughts about kids. And there's a taboo about, people say, well, it's such a taboo that people who are having these thoughts can't speak up and maybe get some therapy, which like that sucks.
Yeah.
Speaking of OCD.
Yeah.
You're having these thoughts that are wrong and you can't control them, but you can't tell anyone.
Right.
Because that's it for you.
Yeah.
That's sad. And I have a lot of empathy for that person who, that person who's never hurt a kid.
Yeah.
But it's having these thoughts. I have a ton of empathy for that person. I would guess that I would hope that it's falling, but it's also been proven that the company you work for will protect you.
Yeah, that's weird. I guess there is also the element of like, if you are already the type of person with that type of personality, and then that that's part of that culture, you might be drawn into it for that reason. That's real fucked up.
I think too, like you're taking people, I mean, what's the average age of the person entering the seminary? It's got to be early 20s, like college age.
Right.
So
seems like it's usually older men that get accused, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, but I mean, like the average age of a person going into the priesthood, it skews young.
Yeah.
I would think it's not like, well, I had enough.
I'm retired.
Enough of this accounting firm work. 45 years old, time to enter the seminary and become a priest and be celibate.
It's about time.
30, 32? That seems high.
Yeah, it does. 32. Is there like a minimum age requirement?
I don't think so. This is just kind of like a series of, 67% of this, 34% of that.
Yeah.
32. That seems a little high, but maybe it's not. I think there's probably also, I think you go to seminary and then some like other time of kind of like internship,
Yeah.
But why celibate?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand why that's such a huge thing. That people end up doing that.
Speaking of biology, it's like, speaking of hormones, you're taking a man when the testosterone levels in his body will be as high as they will ever be, barring taking steroids later in life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that that's necessarily a reason for like pedophilia or molesting kids, but it's also like it's a victim. It's like you're not going after like the well-adjusted married woman.
Right.
Who has a network of and understands the situation perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just going to be like, what's going on here, creep? What's up?
Yeah. Friggin' creep.
Sorry to bring you down. Just been on my mind.
Boy.
Isn't that fucked up? Like what?
Yeah.
Like I think about that. And the more I've been thinking about the last couple days, like it is a miracle that there are churches still open. It's like 1.2 billion people going like, yeah, there's a 5% chance I get molested at this place, or my kids do.
There is a reasonable suspicion that somebody's going to get diddled.
It's like, you might as well send your kids to the public pool by themselves.
But hey,
what the fuck?
I'm trying to avoid damnation.
Yeah. And the thing too is like, most of my extended family is ostensibly Catholic. Yeah. Not a lot of, I don't think there's really a lot of true believers in my, like the extended family, but
yeah,
we're all Irish. So we grew up Irish Catholic.
Right.
family. Apart from the fact that it's bullshit, like this isn't enough.
Yeah.
All right. I listened to a Sam Harris podcast yesterday. And he had, I actually reserved this guy's book at the library, Graham Wood. He wrote a book about ISIS and just about their like recruiting techniques and how effective they are. And
Yeah, I saw that one. I haven't listened to it yet.
okay, yeah. So they get into like what the version of Islam that, and I don't think it's just ISIS. I think it's like what the end times version of the Muslim faith is supposed to be, and like how they believe the world will come to an end, and also how Jesus plays into that. So Jesus was a prophet, even in the Muslim faith. He's considered a prophet, but he died and then rose bodily to heaven and is no longer a prophet because he died. So Muhammad was like the last prophet. So he's kind of the last word, final word in this situation. But during the end times, the Antichrist, who is apparently currently on Earth, but has been chained up on an island in the Red Sea, which is not big. He's going to get off that island and basically usher in the end times. Jesus will come back and will face the Antichrist and chase him and stab him with a spear as a man. Yeah, that's happening.
Yeah. That's happening.
Get on board. Get ready.
I have not heard any of this before.
Yeah, neither had I. I think it warrants more investigation. But anyway, this is what I heard. And so I'm telling the story to a coworker, and he's like, wow, it's really elaborate. Or you kind of like, oh, that's really interesting. It's like, it's not really. It's like no more interesting than the Lord of the Rings or Star Wars, or
maybe not as nutty as the Scientology story of intergalactic spaceships dropping souls into volcanoes and shit.
It's like, why not?
But it's very specific. That also elicits predestination.
Yep.
And that I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Like, if there is a God who created man and all of existence, space and time, and everything is predetermined, then what is the point?
Yeah.
What's the point of anything? Also, I mean, man, we could really get into this, but
let's do it.
What if there, and of course we're thinking about this from a human perspective and thought process, but if you're God, first of all, how did you come to be in the first place? How do you exist?
Right.
And you create mankind amongst everything else, of course, but specifically mankind, and for the purpose of just worshiping you.
Mm-hmm.
Why? What's the point of all that? Just cause you can?
Yeah.
And look what I did. Isn't that great? You're welcome. Love me. Live your life according to words that other people wrote that they said that I said or meant. And then maybe you'll get to hang out with me after this is over. Depends on how good you are.
Depends on how good of a slave you are.
Yeah. It just all boils down when you unravel it all the way back. It's like, it's just a coping mechanism.
Yeah,
to deal with that we're going to die.
The words of the late, great Christopher Hitchens, it's the first and worst explanation for the universe.
Yeah.
It's religion.
Yeah. It's far too easy just to chalk it up to, hey, that's God's will.
I think that with Sam Harris, for sure, but definitely with Christopher Hitchens, his understanding and explanation of religion, more so than I think anyone else. I was like, yeah, this is the way I feel, but I've never been able. I'm not like the second coming of, Oscar Wilde, like he was with words, where you're like,
with the words,
I can't explain myself that well.
Yeah,
he can, and then
I'm thinking it
when I'm feeling it, you know. Yeah, his book God Is Not Great. I read that, I was just like, yeah, this is exactly. These are the questions that have never been answered for me. And these are the explanations about human nature that kind of like, that I totally see that.
Yeah.
it's the desire to be enslaved, this desire to give over
Mm-hmm.
to something bigger, to not make choices for yourself,
Yeah.
but to give someone else dominion over
Yeah.
you. I think that it's a comfortable place for humans, and I think it's a comfortable place for the animal side of us.
Yeah.
You know?
I know it does help people act as good people a lot.
Yeah, but I think equally,
And a lot of it is the
terribly.
opposite. Yeah. But also, I feel terrible for people who live their entire lives under the notion of this guideline of religion.
Mhm.
They live their life this way, they're going to get rewarded for it afterwards. And if that's not the case, then their whole life, I don't want to say it was a waste, but their choice and the direction of their life totally determined by this governing body. Very unfortunate.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what would you have done differently?
I think that the motivations to do good, if your sole motivation is to get into heaven, that's narcissism. That's ego.
Yeah.
So when you hear that argument, like, oh, religion has done a lot of good for both people involved in the situation, or how do the scales play out
Yeah.
in that?
They're not doing it just because it's what they feel is the right thing to do. It's also, if you do the right thing, then there's something in it for you.
Or if you don't do the right thing, you're going to hell.
Right.
So you better do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just do the right thing.
Yeah.
Just do the right thing, and then you're going to die.
That's that.
Well, I think it's do you believe in a net positive? Do you believe in a net positive impact that because of your actions, there will be a greater abundance of positive outcome in the world? Is that possible?
Yeah.
I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
That does not rely on religion or life after death. It doesn't at all. I mean, I think doing a good thing based solely on the belief that your entry into the kingdom of heaven hinges on you doing the right thing, that is a bad reason to do shit.
Yeah, what we know for sure is that we are here now as human beings, and why not make the best possible situation out of that, regardless of what may or may not come after.
Mm-hmm.
This is what's happening now. Why not just live your life trying to be good to yourself and to others?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it's really been bugging me.
Yeah.
Like, what if it was like what percent?
What's it going to take?
Does it tip?
When do you?
Does it go? Shut this shit down. Turn those lights off. Blow those candles out. Take that funny hat off.
Change the structure. Do you really need? I mean, it's all based on tradition. So it's like, well, we can't change the way we've been doing this for 2,000 years.
We can't admit that it's not real.
Right.
Like, you can't just stop.
Yeah.
Think about that. How many millions and millions of people have lived their lives based on the belief that the church was the end all be all?
Yeah.
Especially for moral issues.
Yeah.
And somewhere between 1 and, I don't know, 7% of priests have at least been accused. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's closer to the top end of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
The gut feeling here is that it's all true.
Yeah. And I'm sure that it's the tendency to be like, well, these are people and there are bad people in the world.
Mm-hmm.
in any organization and religion and society, whatever. Yeah, the real problem is the organization getting involved.
Moving people around.
Yeah.
How the fuck is that? Oh my god, it bugs me so bad. Oh yeah. Have you heard of Dabiq, the town in Syria?
No.
All right, so this is back to the end times in Islam.
Okay.
This is what like ISIS is hinging a lot of. This is where a lot of their belief is based on.
Mm.
So ISIS has expanded all through like Syria, and Iraq. They took Raqqa, and they took Mosul. Right now, they're being surrounded in those places.
Yeah.
So there's probably a few thousand fighters left in Mosul, say, and there's a couple 100,000 civilians, and those guys are all going to die.
Mm.
And Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the self-proclaimed caliph of ISIS, he's kind of on the run. He's somewhere in the desert in between those two cities, like he's just kind of melting back into the desert where he came from. And there's a $25 million reward on his head.
Whoa.
So that's one of those things too. I read that and I'm just thinking like, all right, I really like you, Dan.
Yeah.
If there was a $25 million
Yeah.
reward, how long before I get my phone out underneath the table and say, get over here right now? Like, so you're going to read that and you start it's $25 million in a part of the world where that might as well be all the money on earth.
Yeah.
Like, this is
Fuck ton.
endless amounts.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking too, like, if you're that guy and you read that and you know that like these cities are, so, let's take him at his word. He believes if he's martyred, he's on the fast track to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. But you still kind of think like there's a drone somewhere
Yeah.
that's looking for me.
Boop, 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 boop.
Yeah. And so you kind of read this and you're like, well, I'm dead.
Yeah, it's coming.
You're a dead person.
Yeah.
And you know it. Like, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So there's this town.
But if you believe you're going to the best place.
Well, if that's the case, and this is, I think, the case with a lot of the fighters in ISIS, like, let's just assume that they mean it.
Mm-hmm.
Then why wouldn't they want to die as quickly as possible?
Yeah. Fuck this place.
The quicker I martyr myself, the faster I get to heaven. So what?
Yeah.
Why would
Get all those wives.
Why would I not want that?
Yeah.
So it's like, all right. So there's this town in Syria called Dabiq, and it's prophesied to be the location of an apocalyptic battle. So the idea is that, like, in the end times, it's going to be this battleground between the true believers in Islam and like the Romans, or whoever the prophesied forces will be. So I guess now it's be like, all right, it's going to be the coalition coming in. It's like, if you really believe that, like, why don't you just go to Dabiq and we'll meet you there?
Yeah.
It's one of these things where it's just like, all right, if that's what you believe, what time do you want? What time should we send the cruise missiles?
Yeah, we'll take care of this.
It's like there's a couple of squadrons of Apache helicopters that are just fueling up, ready to go.
We got you.
If it wasn't for the belief that this is going to be the fast track to heaven, would you ever say, I'll see you at Dabiq?
No.
I'm sick of this shit, Dan.